All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about The Day Before. So what happens whenever you take a game like Tom Clancy's The Division, but you put in a bunch of zombies? A zombie apocalypse has broken out in New York City. Can you fight off the encroaching horde of zombies and players alike with what little resources you can find? Well, that is the big question that the developers are asking the players with The Day Before. In this video, we're going to talk about all of the news, leaks, and rumors regarding The Day Before, as well as everything that you need to know about this new game. Now, the question that some of you guys may be asking yourselves is, what is The Day Before? Well, The Day Before is an upcoming MMO zombie survival game where the player must scavenge New York City to find resources and weapons to survive in the apocalyptic world. This game is set to feature some common elements found in many MMOs, like there will be a PvE or player versus environment, and then there will be indeed PvP aspects to this game, making a very versatile and ever-changing environment that will always keep the player looking over their shoulder when trying to survive. Some might see this game and think that it will be too easy, but there is an apparent difficulty that even the most hardcore veterans will still find the game to be a challenge. The Day Before is allegedly making strides in the MMO community, and when we say MMO, there won't be some like 20 to 40 players in a lobby. Apparently there will be some large-scale servers with hundreds of players on them. I think with an influx of players, that should take the easy difficulty concerns out the window. There should be plenty of chances for taking out the top dog, or at least teaming up with random survivors and working together to come out on top of this apocalypse. There is a lot of unknown with The Day Before, and with that comes a lot of genuine criticism and concern. Before we dive into that, let's talk about what we know so far about The Day Before. The environment and setting, like I said before, takes place in a post-apocalyptic New York City, set in a deadly post-pandemic America overrun by flesh-hungry infected and survivors, killing each other for food, weapons, and cars. You wake up alone in a world you no longer remember, setting out to find answers and resources to survive. Now, as far as environment and story, that's about all we know so far. We know there's going to be combat and weapons that will affect the environment. For instance, from the gameplay trailer where the player is seen going into a corner store while scavenging for supplies, a group comes in behind the player who throws a grenade at them, and we see the entire store be affected by the grenade. From lights starting to flicker to paper thrown everywhere, scorch marks, and parts of the shelves being blown up. The Day Before will have a big emphasis on exploration of the world the player will be in, which sounds like it could be a little bit concerning because most games that are super big, they usually end up just being empty worlds. There's obviously also the concern of this game being a walking simulator similar to games like The Division or DayZ, but I wouldn't fret though, because there's going to be a wide variety of vehicles at the player's disposal to trudge through the outer parts of the map, such as muddy basins and off-road trails to get to different destinations. However, don't let the facade of having a vehicle make you have a sense of security, as these vehicles will not be the best pick for going through a horde of zombies and will take damage if driven recklessly. This game is as much as a zombie survival as it is a player versus player game. Not only are you going to have to deal with the horde of zombies, but also deal with other players that could potentially take the loot that you went and scavenged. At the end of the day, if you're not strong enough to beat other players, then you're just doing looting for them. Now, from all of the gameplay that we got to see from The Day Before, it's looking like the gameplay will be a little bit mixed in between a game like The Division, but also DayZ. In terms of how the developer Fantastic approached the design, it looks like they took inspiration from The Division 1, but almost a more realistic approach to what we expected to have for The Division. The third-person gameplay also looks very similar to The Division, but the gameplay looks like it's taking some inspiration from DayZ and games like State of Decay, which in my opinion is all good things. I honestly think if they just took the best parts of The Division, they took the best parts of DayZ, specifically with how good the PvP is with DayZ, and some of the elements like the style as well as the looting and just overall gameplay that we saw with State of Decay and State of Decay 2, which if you have Xbox Game Pass, I strongly recommend you guys give State of Decay 2 a try, because it's actually a really solid zombie slaying game that you can play with your friends. I've actually been playing it again because I've been really looking forward to The Day Before, and I think it's a pretty solid alternative for now. Now, for those of you that are wondering if there will be standard multiplayer game modes similar to what we have in The Division, and whether or not The Day Before will have those multiplayer modes, I think the answer is very unlikely, since this game is meant to be played as an MMO and also a survival game. So in terms of the genre, just think DayZ, but with a lot more players. Now, let's say they added some multiplayer game modes like a battle royale or something like that. I personally would not like to see any type of those modes in the game, as with a game like this, I feel like there's going to be plenty of PvP found in the world, either while exploring or intentionally going to hunt for other players in denser locations that are like high loot areas, but also the fact that there is going to be high population servers. With potentially hundreds of players all scavenging New York City at the same time, you're bound to run into a player or two. So now let's talk about what platform is the day before going to be releasing on. Will we see it on consoles, specifically consoles at launch? If you actually look at the first trailer that we got, they mentioned in the title of their video that it will be releasing on PS5, Xbox, and the PC. With the current stage of the development process that the day before is currently in, it's really hard to determine whether or not they're going to decide if this game will also launch on console. At the current time, the day before has only been announced for the Steam store, as it is currently available on Steam. You can actually click on the store page and see the day before. Now, if I were to guess, this game will also eventually be available on the Epic Games Store, but right now the only thing that we have so far is the Steam store. Now, the day before was supposed to be launched on the 21st of June this year, but an unexpected delay occurred, pushing the game back to March 1st of 2023. The developers have come out to say after the fact that the day before will also be switching to Unreal Engine 5. So if you thought the current gameplay that we saw with the day before, as well as like the trailer that we got, we're about to see an even better game on the Unreal Engine 5. Now, while I was especially looking forward to this game, I'd much rather wait an entire year more while the developers work out all of the kinks and as many bugs as possible before the release. I am so tired of games being rushed. I want the developers to just take their time and make this game right. I really would hate to see this game finally release and flop. Now, as I stated before, the game will likely not release alongside the console versions, but the year delay could have changed things. There also is the possibility that Xbox or PlayStation could help fund the development of the game, with the expectations that they release the game on PlayStation or Xbox. Now, some things that we do know in terms of it releasing on PC is we do know a little bit of information about the system requirements, or at least the technology that was used to shoot the actual trailers. So in the trailer and gameplays we've seen, they have allegedly been captured using an NVIDIA GTX 1060. While not the best card on the market anymore, it's actually really old. So while that news is pretty good, the room for recommended requirements will likely go up, especially with the game's move to the Unreal Engine 5. The day before is a very pretty game and has a huge favoritism towards making the game look amazing and the awesome gameplay that's been shown thus far. Granted, it still looks a little bit clunky and very early in the development, but stuff like that can be tweaked as the game gets closer and closer to release. I'm not trying to hype up the game thus far, but I do have to just say that it looks like a really solid game, and I think if you watch the trailers and gameplay, you can probably agree that it almost looks too good to be true. Now, in terms of the actual graphics and gameplay, it would not be out of this question to say that we may need some pretty robust parts to get the full experience out of the graphics that we were being shown. Not to mention the game will be an MMO on Unreal Engine 5 with hundreds of players on the server. My 3080 Ti is overheating at just the thought of having to run this game. So hopefully with that year delay, they're able to focus on the development, make the game polished and optimized. But also I would really implore the developers to do technical tests to really test the servers at max capacity, because with an MMO, if the server is janky and the game doesn't run smooth because it's laggy on the servers, that right there could be the deal breaker if the servers don't work. Now, to speak a little bit more on the graphics, on top of the already gorgeous game, there will be a fully dynamic weather patterns that will affect the player in more than just seeing rain or random snowflakes land around them. The weather systems will include things such as rainstorms and blizzards that can take the player by complete surprise and completely change how you will need to play this game until the weather clears up. This also ties into the type of hardware we may need for the day before in order to make this game run smoothly during these events. But if it's optimized by the developers and they've got really good engineers on staff for the servers, that might not be a problem. Well, that's about all we know so far about the day before. Let me know what your thoughts are about this upcoming MMO survival game, and if you're going to be going at it solo or even with friends, or you're just looking to team up with some randoms found in the world to come out on top against the other survivors. If you guys are looking to stay up to date with all things new with the day before and just gaming in general, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel with your notifications on. Thanks for watching. This has been Wes, and I will talk to you guys on the next video.